Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Lauren Fitzpatrick. I'm the co-chair of the Democratic Town Committee here at Newbury. And here's my partner in crime, my co-chair, Elizabeth DeGrenier. And Melissa Mashburn is our secretary.
Hi.
She's also the timekeeper for tonight. So we're a little less formal here if you've gone to any of the other candidate forums.
Especially the COA forum, which was run like clockwork. So be kind, but I will be fair.
But I'm thrilled to have this event, and I want to thank Jack for suggesting that we do it, because I hadn't thought about it, and we hadn't had a chance to discuss it. But I do think it's great, and obviously all are welcome at this meeting, regardless of your political party or whatever. But it is good, because we want to get everyone out as much as possible. I think it's great that we had 3 candidate forums, so that people have an ample opportunity to see the 3 candidates and talk to them personally, hear them talk about themselves and what their visions are for our town. I do know the Republican Democratic Committee candidate forum is now on the Newbury Town YouTube site, so you can watch that. And they promised that this one would be before the election, so they're going to try and turn it quickly, and they're working on the town hall video, and then obviously the COA forum.
Yesterday's is been out.
Oh, good, thank you. COA forum is on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, so we have a handful of questions, some that I got from members of our committee and others, and we're going to just walk through. I'm going to introduce the candidates and then let them introduce themselves. Before we start that, though, I'm just going to take a few minutes. We have a board of registrars in the town of Newbury, and Doug Pullman is leaving his post. They would like us, as a Democratic committee, to recommend someone. You can't be on our committee to serve on the board of registrars, but you can be our friend, you can be Democrat, Republican. They're asking us to recommend someone to serve on the committee. And so I asked Doug to come up so people understand, what does someone on the board of registrars actually have to do? It's not that scary, and that's not why you're leaving, right, Doug? Okay, come on.
Yes,
I'll let Doug just say a few words.
Okay, to be clear, I'm not stepping down because I hate the job. It's not a difficult job at all. We're moving to California to be near our grandchildren. The primary job is at town meetings. You've seen people, if you've gone to town meetings, we check you in. That job has gotten much easier. It used to be we had to look everybody up in paper, but now we just do it on a computer. It's very easy. It does take time, depending how long the meetings go on and on and on. And quite frankly, you don't get to vote as often because you're out there checking people in, and sometimes you miss some of the warrants. The other, that's the primary thing. Whenever it's a town meeting, you have to be there to check people in. The only other duties we have is if an absentee ballot comes in after the election, but it's been mailed in time, we have to have a formal meeting where we sit there and we open up the envelope and we say, yep, and that's it. You know, it takes about 10 minutes. And the other thing is, I've been involved in 2 recounts. If there's a recount, the registrars don't get involved in the actual recounting. They just sit at a table, and if there's a challenge, they will come up and say, people think it was voted for candidate A, we really think it's B because of this reason, and then we vote to see which one it is. Okay. That was interesting on the first recount. That's the one that Christian Kastner won by 1 vote overall. But that's it. There's a nominal salary of $200 or something like that. You're not going to get rich in this job. But it is an interesting job, and it does provide a service to the town. So anybody who's interested, I highly recommend you.
Thank you, Doug.
See the people here at the front desk.
Thank you. Thank you for your service to the town. So yeah, if you have any interest, please connect with myself, Elizabeth, or Melissa. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to introduce the candidates, and then we're going to ask them each to take about 5 minutes and give an introduction to themselves and why they're running for select board. Okay? So just quick for introductions, we have Jack Rubicki, candidate for the select board. We have Alicia Greco, select board chairman, and Jeff Walker on the current select board. Okay? So I will start with Alicia.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Greco, and I would like to thank the Newbury Democratic Town Committee and the Newbury Town Library for hosting this event and inviting us here this evening.
Alicia?
Speak up.
Would it help for me to shut the door again?
No,
Okay.
Use your stage voice. I'll stand up. That might help too. So, good evening. My name is Alicia Greco, and I would like to thank the Newbury Democratic Town Committee and the Newbury Town Library for hosting this event and inviting us here this evening. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am seeking re-election to the Select Board because I am committed to the town of Newbury. I wish to continue to bring integrity to the office, protect the character of the town, and to both promote fiscal responsibility and transparent government. I am passionate about our town and have worked tirelessly to put it in a position to capitalize on every opportunity that comes our way. Under my tenure on the Select Board, the town has become AAA bond rated and has earned national recognition for our transparent budgeting process. We have dramatically upgraded our roads and public safety infrastructure, as well as successfully executed numerous initiatives that improve the quality of life for our townspeople. We achieved all of this while creating a modern approach to all aspects of town governance, including transparency. I have been heavily involved with our schools for many years. At NES, I co-founded the Junior Great Books program and helped manage the Theater Workshop program. I have served Triton on both middle and high school councils as PTA president and on the district communications committee. It is there that I collaborate with Triton leadership and leaders of Rowley and Salisbury to ensure our children have the resources needed to get a good education. In 2022, I was appointed to the Massachusetts Municipal Association's Fiscal Policy Committee, where I actively lobby for increased state funding for both Newbury and Triton. I have a deep understanding of the school budgeting process and how it impacts our town's budget, including what is needed to stop the steep funding increases that have been facing Newbury for decades. We instituted ClearGov for fiscal transparency, and I helped launch both the Newbury Government Channel, Channel 9, and the Educational Channel, Channel 8, so residents can watch their government in action. Newbury still has some challenges ahead. We currently are the only community in the Commonwealth to have its seat of government located in rented space. Our Morgan Ave Fire Station needs some capital improvements, and we currently rent our Byfield Fire Station. Chapter 70 reimbursements from the Commonwealth have been woefully inadequate for decades. Much of the cost of our $52 million a year school district is falling to our 3 communities who have average budgets of around $24 million. This trend is unsustainable and a direct threat to the fiscal solvency of our community. Currently, the cost of education takes up half, or $12 million of our operating budget. That leaves $12 million left to run the town. This amount includes our debt, insurance and benefit premiums, our police and fire departments, our DPW, our council on aging, this library, and town hall functions. Okay, that's only $1 million a month to run our town. One candidate sitting here tonight wants to level fund your budget. If you attended our recent town meeting, you heard Mr. Jim Moran make a motion from the floor to do just that, to keep our operating budget to the 2024 level, which would have cut more than $1 million from this year's budget. It was overwhelmingly defeated. This is a very important issue for our town this election cycle. At the January 10th Select Board meeting, we discussed budget priorities, and both current Select Board members, Selectman Packer and Selectwoman Matthews, advocated to level fund our budget. Should Mr. Rybicki earn a seat on the board, the majority vision of the current Select Board would change, and the new majority leadership will level fund your budget and cut services to our community and to make up that $1 million shortfall. Please think about where those cuts would fall to. The only room in our budget is to public safety, human services, and culture and recreation. Increased extreme weather events continue to threaten us. We must have plans to address coastal vulnerability and create resiliency. We must continue to work with our neighboring communities and our state and federal legislators to enact changes that ensure Newbury gets the resources it needs.
About 5 more seconds, Alicia.
The significant funding sources available at both the state and federal level is it's imperative that Newbury advocate for its fair share, and our shellfish industry depends on it. Remember, a level funded budget results in budgetary cuts across all departments and will affect the services the town provides. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
And to move things along, we also, I think, one of the things they did at COA was just we'll save our claps for the end.
Unless you're overcome with emotion. Bill, were you trying to say something before?
Is it possible to turn the noise is awfully loud? Is it possible to turn that?
I don't think we can.
No.
control this. I think this fan.
Yeah, the
Do you want me
fan
to
will
shut
help.
this fan off?
Up front, step right.
Better?
Much better.
Okay. Jeff, would you like to go next?
I had a little bit of a longer speech, and Alicia really did a good job on illuminating some of the problems that we face. I only got, this is it. So I'm not going to speak as long about the issues as I was going to, but my name is Jeff Walker, and I'd like to thank the Democratic Town Committee for having us and everyone for coming. I've lived in Newbury for 40 years with my wife Josette, and I raised my children here, and it's been a great community. I've always been civic-minded. My dad was selectman in Salisbury for years and state rep for this district. So it didn't take long when I moved to Newbury to get involved, and I ran for the planning board and I was elected. I was also the liaison for the Concom, and I soon found that to learn the basics of your town, it really starts at the planning board, and I probably like the issues of the Concom more than I did the issues of the planning board. We changed to the acts of 2008, and in 2009 I was asked by some of the selectmen to run for select board, and I did. So I've been around a while, and I've seen a lot of things. And back in those days, we had some very, very succinct and poignant fiscal crisis. Not only in infrastructure and equipment, but we were in bad shape. We could almost not pay our bills. And it crescendoed in 2011. And it's hard for some people to really think back that far, but we had some real big problems. And Chuck Costco was our finance director then, and I think that's when he went along. He's now head of the Essex County Retirement Board, and we hired Tracy Blaze, and we began that road back to fiscal responsibility and, you know, good equipment, good infrastructure. It's been a long haul. So fast forward to today, and I have come to realize that probably my strengths, what I'm probably good at, was learn from those early years in town government. And my diverse, you know, I owned a lot of businesses, I taught elementary school, I taught 4th grade, so some of those things helped me to be able to be effective with other selectmen during that crisis in 2011. I can remember the work and effort to restructure and reshape the responsibilities of many of our departments. I have watched our present town administrator develop budgets to rebuild not just infrastructure and equipment, but also to hire new people as needed to face new reporting responsibilities, town service, and public safety needs. It was not that hard to understand. The other half of our budget was important too, obviously the schools. I sit on the DCC committee, and I'm very aware of some of the complexities of the school mission and how it impacts our budget. I have a bachelor's from Clark University. I have a master's of education from Springfield College. And for the last 23 years, I have been deeply involved in marsh restoration If some of you folks know me, you probably know me for being on the march. I have collaborated with various organizations, state and federal agencies, local universities to protect Newbury's and neighboring coastal communities from the impact of climate change. I sit on the MRBA, the Merrimack River Beach Alliance, with Bruce Tarr for our town, with all the problems that we've had on Plum Island and some of the flooding of our roads. That's our main body, besides some of what Alicia said was the Vulnerability Task Force. I'm also a founding member of the Great Marsh Revitalization Task Force and the Great Marsh Partnership, which you can look up. And I work physically on the marsh. That's kind of what I've done for the last 25 years. In conclusion, I pledge to continually advocate tirelessly for the people of Newbury, guided by the principle of what's best for this town. Effective governance to me is about collective effort, transparency and critical thinking, yet free thinking, and upholding our community's values and traditions. I am committed to preserving Newbury's rich history and ensuring a promising future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
2 seconds to spare. All right, Jack.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you for hosting, of course. My name is Jack Rybicki. I moved here in 1995 because I met my wife. She's from Newburyport, and we wanted a rural lifestyle. And we found my field between Newburyport and Danvers, where I was from. I came down from Vermont because of a health situation with my brother, and I helped care for him. He was a respirator-dependent quadriplegic. It was part of the reason I came back from Vermont. I have great empathy for many things. There's a presumption here that there would be massive cuts and or irresponsible fiscal oversight. I assure you from the bottom of my heart that the same tools, the same people, the same resources that Jeff and Alicia have at their disposal would be at my disposal. And I can assure you that I would only look as you would look at from your kitchen table in the same manner that we look at our own home finances, because we want responsibleness. We understand there's priorities and there's times to move monies and there's times to not move monies. There's a lot of challenges as we all face. I think the past is the past, and we have to look at what we need to do going forward. I appreciate where we've been, but we have to face where we're going. And that's going to take all of us together, understanding there's a lot of legacy decisions in front of us, overrides, serious money in front of us. Many of us won't be here to pay it off. It'll be our kids or somebody else that's paying it off. And we need to make sure the decisions we're making now, NES, fire station, the future of the COA, the future of the town hall. I think it's presumptuous of the chair to assume that Select Board Member Matthews or Select Board Member Packer and I would be anything but open-minded to everything you have to offer. I don't think that's fair. I don't think I have a record that would allow that statement to be had. I believe I'll work hard, I'll work on your behalf, and I will make sure as best as I can in the interest of everyone that we find middle ground we can all live with. It's gonna be tough, I admit that. I'm willing to work hard. I don't believe anybody will work harder. If I don't know, I'll work hard to find out. If I make a mistake, I'll apologize. If I need to learn more, you'll point it out and we'll learn together. And at the end of it all, we'll be better for it. And that's what I promise you. I won't promise you anything more than immense effort towards the same conclusion. We want a great place to live, and we want our tax dollars spent judiciously. That's all I want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. So the first question in regards to the level funded operating budget, since that was kind of addressed in some of your opening remarks. In January, 2 of the current select board members, Packer and Matthews, showed interest in the level funded operating budget for FY 2025. And at our annual town meeting, as you mentioned, Jim Moran made a motion to reduce the proposed FY 25 budget to the same level as the FY 24 budget, a level funded operating budget. Would you support a level funded budget? If yes, what items would you cut in order to keep the costs the same year over year? We'll ask for 2-minute responses. And we'll start with you, Jack.
Good, thank you, Alicia. We'll get together some other time. Again, presumption. This is a question from me to her. I don't need the advice yet. If I'm elected, I'll be happy to work with Alicia if you're also elected as well. Level funded doesn't mean we have to randomly cut. We recognize there are contractual labor obligations, contractual supply obligations at hand. The idea we can't go to our department heads like we go to our own kitchen table departments. Can we save at electricity? Can we save on lawn mowing? Can we save on buying cleaning ingredients? All of this takes the same respect that should come from the macro here. I think returning or asking our department heads to possibly revisit their budgets in some manner, to possibly find savings in light of what we're all facing, I don't think that's irresponsible. I think it's responsible to do. I think the budget in Newbury has been averaging 5% per year for the last 5 years. And we're in a 2.5% world. I think unsustainable is 5% year over year over year when we can only be property taxed at 2.5% with the appropriate, the funding that comes with grants and or excise tax, new construction, etc. So I submit to you that level funding is a funny term, but I don't think responsible budgeting or returning people to look at their budget with a finer word is a bad thing to do. Call it level funding, yes you can, but I think we need to all tighten our belts, and that's what I'm asking them to do. And we'll all come together to decide how tight it becomes for the person or the department at hand. And I can't say what they are because I don't have the inside information that they have. I can only go and say that I'll be there and help when the time comes.
No, I'm sorry, that was 5-second warning, and I also have water for you guys. Thanks, and my apologies.
No. No.
Okay, that's okay. And Pam, there should be back in water. Thank you to Pam Wool, kindly, thank you. Recognize. You want a cold one?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Jack. Jeff, would you like to comment on the same question? 2 minutes, please.
Jeff, do you want to go?
I'm good. As a refugee of fiscal crisis in 2011, when we hired Tracy, it took almost 2 or 3 years to put the town back to like an equal footing with other towns. Always keeping in mind our tax rate and all the other things that we like to have as low and having reserves in mind. So that left us probably close to a decade to rebuild and reman and repopulate parts of our town that needed to be creatively fixed. Because we weren't in very good shape, and I'm talking from personnel, on the police, to the highway, to people that work. We didn't really have the strong town planning back then. We weren't doing our master plan. We were a mess. So it took us a decade of building back not only people, but a budget to sustain those people and also to sustain the equipment and other things that a town needs to come back aboard and to be able to, with really state and federal mandates and all the other things that are coming down on us like rain, to be able to function, responsibly. So the level funding to me would be a social experiment if we had to, which we could. We could be on a path where we really are going to have to tighten our budget. We could be eminent with some of the things we have to look forward to with Whittier if the state doesn't step in, and also our local schools. So the answers are going to portray themselves to us. We're well governed, we're well advised, and I'll tell you this,
And that's
I
time.
certainly don't possess the brilliance to do it alone. It takes a tribe of people to run the town of Newbury.
Thank you, Jeff. Alicia?
So the document that I had showed to Mr. Rybicki is our operating budget. And I think he has a fundamental misunderstanding of how the operating budget works. The 2.5% that he refers to, that's the overall tax base. The town is not allowed to raise or appropriate any more than 2.5% without going to a ballot box, a ballot initiative, and a town meeting approving that. We do it with a debt exclusion, or we do it to fundamentally raise and appropriate over the 2.5%. The town's operating budget is a 5% increase from the previous year, but it falls within that 2.5%. Otherwise, we would have to go to the ballot and ask for an override, which we haven't. The increase from fiscal year 2024, the town had raised, and our budget was $23 million. The budget, 23.4. The budget this year, 2025, is 24.5. To ask the department heads to tighten their belt after the money is appropriated means cuts. The budgeting process begins early in January. The departments put together, the police, the fire, the council on aging, the library, put together their budgets. They come to the town administrator. She has budget meetings. From those necessary needs, to say they have wants, but we're very good at what we do. We run a very tight ship. The budget is crafted from that. When it goes to town meeting, and if it is level funded, it's cut. It has to be cut. Of the $24 million budget, 12 of it, half of it goes to the schools. We can't cut that. Almost $1 million of it is debt. We can't not pay our debt. Employee benefits and insurance is another $2.2 million. General government, run town hall, is about $2.8 million. We could close departments.
And that's
close
time.
town hall. Think about where else that money is going to come from.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question. What are the key ingredients of a well-run town government? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Key ingredients can respectively be thought of in a lot of different ways. I've grown used to having the type of town government that we have now, which is the town administrator. I rely heavily on the finance committee, and I rely heavily on my boards and committees for my information. And I think we're lucky we have good volunteers and people that have been appointed and elected to those boards and committees. For me, without that preparation, without that dissection of all the various things that come before us, from budget to school implications, I'd be lost, because it sets my ability to make my decisions and be creative as a selectman. So for me, like I said before, I realize my limitations, and I'm glad that we have some of the people now that we have in place, and that our town is functioning in the fashion that it is.
Thank you, Jeff. Alicia?
The town of Newbury is extremely well managed. In 2008, town meeting voted to change our form of government to a town administrative form of government. The powers that rely with the select board are quite limited. We are the liquor license appointing authority. We contract with the town administrator, the police chief, the fire chief. We appoint boards and committees. But the government, the town itself, is run by our town administrator in her staff. She's highly qualified. She's our chief procurement officer. She's our head of HR. She is our communications. She's a finance director. She oversees all of it. In order to have an effective town government, you need to have a collaborative board that works together. You may have different ideas and come from different things, but when you come together in public and you deliberate and you make the decision for in the best interest of the whole of the town of Newbury. It can't be a personal agenda, what I would like done, in my neighborhood. It has to be the whole of the town. The other important piece too that I think is trusting our residents. they formulated a master plan. That master plan should be our guiding document. We should take that master plan and we should follow that, because that is the true will of the people. I think that's
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Alicia. Jack?
Regarding the level funding, I wouldn't unwind last year's budget, so I discount that. Everything we're talking about will be going forward, so please be assured what's in place now would be in place. Only when things going forward coming across my desk, if I'm so lucky to be elected, would we do it. And I'll use Alicia's words, it's trust but verify. It's our responsibility as the executive branch here to absolutely verify what's going on under and around us. This is what you vote us to do. The idea we would be rubber stampers from the top down or from the bottom up, I don't think that's fair or right. I think that it's incumbent on us, whether it comes from FinCom, planning, zoning, or however process is being served in the moment. I think that it's incumbent on us to stay in tune with all that goes on in town. We don't necessarily have to weigh in on it, but the idea that it happens around us and we're not a part of it, I think, is not necessarily what we should be doing. I submit to you that. I think that the best thing we can all do is return to open, moderated discussion on agenda items. If it's on the agenda and you come, let's talk about it. We don't need to put it off. If you come with a discussion item that's not on the agenda, certainly we'll guarantee you we'll put it on the next one. But the idea you can't come to this board with a discussion based on an agenda item that's listed is false. And we can have open, moderated discussion. Jeff led open, moderated discussion on 2 boards for multi-years. It's absolutely legal. The idea that legal in this town would say, we can, I submit to you, it's open, moderated discussion with adults in the room can take place. And the idea we can't, I'm going to submit to you under every circumstance is not right. If it's on the agenda, it's discussable. And the fact is that if we don't bring you back to the table, the reason nobody's coming is because you're invited to come and witness. I think you should be a part of it. We're a small town.
And that's time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry.
Good.
Thank you, Jack. She's getting some.
I appreciate that. Sorry.
The next question is in regards to the town hall. So in April 23 at our annual town hall meeting, 60% of voters approved moving money from free cash into the town hall account. 52% of voters were in favor of this town hall project. However, recognizing that the 52% fell short of the 2/3 majority needed to move the project ahead, it didn't pass. How do you believe the town should move forward with the town hall space needs and the monies in the town hall account? I'll start with you, Alicia.
For how many minutes?
Oh, same, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I want to give the friends here a chance to ask some of their own questions, so we'll keep these ones short and then you guys can be thinking.
So town hall has been an identified need on our capital plan for many, many years. When we moved the police station out of the basement of 25 High Road, and had to actually move them upstairs from the basement into upstairs at 25 High Road. We moved town hall over here, and the police station eventually got built and we moved them out. The town meeting has always been trying to put money aside to find a solution. It's an identified need. The need hasn't gone away. We did have a project. Majority of the vote, that was again a ballot question, that failed. That project was failed, but hopefully there'll be a new project, because as long as we're going to rent, that amount of our dollars is going to come out of our operating budget, and it's going to eat up at what we can spend on education and other town items. So was one half of the question? What was the other?
No,
Did I answer it all?
do you think, how should they move forward with the monies in the town hall? And what should they do with
We
the
have
money?
an election coming up. We might have a whole new board. We'll have to make that
Yeah.
discussion at the board level then, make and decide.
Okay, thank you, Alicia.
You are.
Jack, do you want me to repeat it? It's complicated.
We want to roll through it one more time, sure.
So as you know, the vote at the recent town hall meeting to fund the town hall project did not pass, and it did not get 2/3 majority. How do you believe the town hall should move forward with the needs of the town hall and the money in the town hall account?
The latest town hall vote was 52%. I believe that's around our fifth vote. 2015, we voted $6.5 million to have a rehabilitated town hall and a new standalone police station built. $4.8 million was to be utilized for the standalone police station. $1.7 million was to be used for the rehabilitation of our existing town hall. That got hijacked. We visited a large municipal building that got voted down. By the time we returned to a standalone police station, $6.5 million was dedicated all to the police, and we needed a $1.8 million override or addition to the 6.5 to make a $8.9 million police station. And we're still at the town hall now. We have the fire station at Morgan Ave is in critical need, in probably a real rebuild. The NES has $8 million worth of critical infrastructure that is needed. The library here has needs, and as well the COA needs a home. There's a lot to be done. I don't know that our administrative concerns at this moment should be the first thing on our agenda. I think public education and our public safety needs trump the administrative concerns for the moment. I think the town hall leasing for the moment, it was $187,000 a year. For 10 years, that's $1.8 million while we wait for a period of time and let NES, this library, Whittier, Triton, our NES conventions, the homing of COA. There's a lot on our deck. I don't know that town hall should be first and foremost. I think we have a lot of concerns going forward, and the consternation of the vote at this time shows that it was 52%, but it was resoundingly defeated at the polls as well after. So I submit to you that we need to come to a table to prioritize all of the things we discuss before we go forward. And that'll only happen if we bring you to the table through open moderated discussion to find these different
And
middle
that's
grounds.
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff?
I think Alicia, when she spoke, laid out the beginning, and I think Jack pretty well laid out the end. I never was a big fan of ever leaving town hall. I know the state mandated that we couldn't stay in trailers, but I knew in my heart if we built a modern building on addition, it was only that time we would have ever gotten it done. What Jack just alluded to, the timing is certainly in jeopardy now with some of the things we have on the horizon. But the space needs assessment and the building committee have certainly said that the existing rented space has to come up to a certain standard, and you start to get rent and what it would cost to build it, they start to, cross. So at a certain point, if it was a really good idea for your town hall, the synergy and home of your town government to be in a rented building, I think there would be more towns and cities that did that in the state of Massachusetts. I think right now we're the only one. So we probably will revisit it when we can.
Thank you. So as discussed in multiple forums and also here tonight, number of issues, or we like to think of them as opportunities to improve things in the town of Newbury. What would you consider to be the top two that you're most passionate about? Jeff?
The recent master plan was 9 years late that they talked about. It was due in 2015. We didn't finish it until 2024, so it's slightly out of date even as we speak. We carry forth some information there that could probably be updated. Part of that master plan included the 20 years in arrears we are over at Central Street. I believe Central Street was bought with our tax money to be all-inclusive for everybody, passive and active recreation, trails, dog parks, the canoe launch landing, the playground that should be there. In the winter, there could be an ice skating rink, there could be a sledding spot. A lot of these things were discussed, and we paid $1.5 million for this in 2006. But we're not near it. We said we remain not near it. we're close. They allocated some ARPA money to be put forth on the playground, and I hope we can utilize that $250,000 that's currently allocated towards a playground there. Perhaps that we can look for other areas to stretch it. I don't know, it comes back to not a level funding, but let's revisit what we have to see how we can stretch it to make more things happen, like we do with our homes. So I would say to you that one of the things I would want for everybody is to let's finish what we started 20 years ago. Well, let's dig in, you know, let's do it with pride and conviction this time. We've addressed it a couple of times and not followed through. I think it's time we follow through there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia, what do you consider to be the two most key issues or opportunities facing Newbury today?
My two biggest concerns is not recreational opportunities at dog parks. It's this funding formula. Currently, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts woefully inadequately funds our public education. If you see here, this red line at the bottom has pretty much stayed flat, and I can pass this around. That's the amount of money that the Commonwealth pays our schools to fund them. This blue line here, started here, it's now up here, that's the cost to run Triton. That's Newbury, Raleigh, and Salisbury's elementary schools, the middle, and the high school. The green is the amount of money that the towns have to pay. It started off here in 2002, it's now up here in 2025. This is unsustainable. We can't even override our way out of this if we had wanted to. It's a $52 million a year school. We're a $24 million town, both of us. This is why I advocate at the state level. The Commonwealth has to address this. They started to do it with the Student Opportunity Act. They know there's more work that needs to be done for small rural communities like ours with declining enrollment. The trend has finally shifted. There are more schools, more communities, small towns across the Commonwealth that are having issues with declining enrollment, and their student costs are less. It's going to continue to grow, and the noise is starting up there, and I think it's very important that I stay up there and advocate on behalf, because this is one big thing that I see. The other big issue that I see is sea level rise, raising our roads, Plum Island becoming a true island, and Mr. Walker is well versed in that area.
Thank you, Alicia.
You're welcome.
Jeff, how about you?
I worry immensely about funding the capital needs and also the operating budget of our schools in reference to our towns. We're lucky that we have, good communication with not only Salisbury and Raleigh, but with our school superintendent, and we have good school board members, and at least we understand. If elected this year, or whoever does get elected, this is kind of a pivotal year, like Alicia was alluding to, and waiting till the end of this year to start our budget, because we always do, kind of waiting for the state and the schools is not going to work this year. We have to start right off. Solutions, certainly they'll be collaborative and collective, and I think it's very important that we start out with information and a committee to decide somewhere with the new types of septic systems and the ability to build, we have to develop some commercial and retail space in the town of Newbury. We have several corridors that could certainly sustain that. The limited tax base on homeowners only is not going to sustain us going forward. So we have to diversify that if we can.
Thank you. Jeff, while you're standing, I'll give you another one. This is a quick one. So just a quick question for the three of you. We've had some interest and discussion about Habitat for Humanity. And we're curious if you've had any discussions within the board yourselves or amongst your fellow colleagues and neighbors about establishing a Habitat for Humanity Center here in Newbury, and what your thoughts are on that. Just 1 minute, please.
I'm going to let other people speak to it. I have no thoughts. I'm totally not against it, I just have no thoughts.
That's
I haven't
okay.
thought about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A good friend of mine, John Steves, he's a local guy, Byfielder in fact. John does a lot of volunteer work for the Habitat for Humanity. I salute the endeavor, not being familiar directly with how Newbury itself could afford itself to the mission that Habitat for Humanity is, but I'd welcome them to the table to speak to what their mission would be, and in the interest of always openness to see what they could bring. If there's a positive to be had here, then I don't know why all of us wouldn't consider it for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm familiar with Habitat to Humanity. My company, I work for a multinational, we do volunteer work sites, and Habitat for Humanity is one of them. They rehab existing buildings, or they build housing from scratch. Newbury is a little bit tight to have, because of our lack of infrastructure. We don't have any water or sewer or anything like that. There is an opportunity that may come about for Habitat for Humanity with a piece of property that the town recently acquired and had to take down the home. That is something that I actually have approached with the town administrator to talk about an opportunity for that. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's going to have to look into it. But Habitat for Humanity does reach out to the town occasionally and asking if there's anything we can do. But you need a product. You need a lot of land, or you need a building to rehab.
Thanks. I'm going to open it up to our members here visiting us. If you have a question, I just ask that you stand up and give us your name and ask your question to the candidates. Yeah, for all three. Any questions? We have a few more, but I wanted to give you guys a chance.
Quick one. What Alicia just spoke about, I'm going to...
Can you say your name?
Oh, Leslie Matthews.
Probably everyone knows you, but just in case.
But still. Yeah, on all the magazine covers. The Habitat for Humanity, the town is definitely looking into that space, and they're being approached by that. And I think it's one of the great things that when you see just even a small parcel come up, that if you can take advantage of that and provide people with, a future for themselves and bring them into a good community, that's, an appropriate thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir?
My name is Jim Moran. I'm at 104 Elm Street. My name's been brought up a couple of times in tonight's conversation. My question to Alicia is, in the current budget, FY24, what do you figure the total expenditures will be through June?
I don't have that number.
Best information I have.
Joe, do you have a question for all three candidates?
That question would be for all three. Does any of the
I
three
can't hear you. Say it again, Jim.
What do you figure the expenditures will be through June in the current budget?
You mean what's going to be left in the budgets?
No, I'm asking you what the total expenditures are going to be in the budget.
Well,
June 25,
are you talking about June of 24, Jim?
Say again?
Are you talking about June of 24?
Yes, the current budget.
Okay, so we appropriated $23,415,277 last year. We still have the remainder of the month of May and June to go. And I have no idea what that will be. Snow and ice, maybe. We had a low snow season this year. Snow and ice, there might be some savings in that. There may be some savings. I know we had some open positions for a while. Usually that has significant savings. If there's any grant opportunities, if we spent any monies, ARPA monies that were identified in the operating budget for grants, we'll have savings there. Does that answer your question?
It really didn't. The best information I had, which was a report from the town, the expenditure reports, indicates that the total expenditures will probably be in the order of magnitude of $22 million. That means we're going to spend $2 million less than was in the budget. That's a good
Jim.
Mr. Moran, what does this have to do with the candidates?
and the.
Well, then my name was brought up, and the budget's been a main topic of tonight's discussion, and I don't believe any of the three candidates have made clear to the public here what's going on.
Jim, if I could, I know this is an important question to you, because I do believe you raised it at Town Hall where I was there. Your name was brought up because you were asking good questions at Town Hall, so we repeated some of those questions. But this one, they can't answer right now, so I'd ask that you follow up with the Finance Board afterwards to get a more specific answer if you could. I do want to use the time we have remaining for everyone to get an opportunity to really understand the candidates, ask any questions, so you get to know all three of them equally.
If you want to let the few that are here, let me finish for a minute, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. The town will save $2 million. If we live with next budget, with our current budget, added $1 million to it, next year at this time, we'd still have money left in the kid. So that's what I brought up at the town meeting. Three candidates, none of the three of them were able to convey that message to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Jeff, did you want to comment?
In a real nice way, I think what you're driving at is what Alicia alluded to. If it's staffing, if it's snow, if it's all these things, that money can go probably to free cash. Jim, I'll buy you a cup of coffee if there's $2 million in there.
I'll see you July 1st. We'll make it
Okay.
July 4th. Thank you.
Sir?
Mike Doyle, question to everyone is, we have the PEG money, which is, how much is in it right now?
$993,000.
993,000? Okay. In 2001, we had live selectmen meetings, so just to contradict what you said, you may have started the media, but we had TV, live board members in 2001, all the meetings. It's now 2024, and the most important meeting of the year this year, the finance and the select board meeting, wasn't even covered.
Mike, I'd like you to ask your question, please.
My question is, what are you going to do with the PEG money? Because you wanted to put it in the general fund, but I think we should start the media committee up again and continue so we can see the meetings at home.
All right, thank you. Let's let them answer the question. Who would like to start?
I can start.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that question, Mike. Selectman Packer, at the town meeting, decided that he was going to begin forming a 501(c)(3). That's a nonprofit organization, has nothing to do with the select board. And I look forward to see how he's going to go forward with that.
Any other responses to Mike Doyle's question from Jack or Jeff?
I do agree with Mike on the fact that having the machinery in the bottom of town hall and having all, excuse me, yeah, I still consider that town hall, I guess, and having us in rental space, the two never seem to meet and it doesn't work. Moving forward and being able to repair that with some of the stuff that's coming to our town, such as Verizon, and we did, what was it, Alicia, I can't remember, we had the chance to go fiber or do something, maybe 2 or 3, we need to find a different way to be able to televise our meetings too. Nothing to do with the 503, nothing to do with that.
I heard the guts of this, what the problem was move to the police station. Is that true?
No. So, can I just?
I'd just like to let Jack respond, and then I'll let Alicia, you respond and follow up.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We have a 501c3 in town. His name is David Hill. He runs the wonderful Byfield Community Arts Center right here in town. I think he's eligible for some of this funding if we had a media committee set up, and Dave could appropriate or ask through that committee for that funding. I think the Byfield Community Arts Center has been an incredible asset. Dave's done incredible work down there. TTS players, concerts, community engagement there. I think that it's an untapped asset, and any illusion by anyone at the front that there isn't good works to be done in this town with $990,000 accumulated out of our franchise fee Comcast tax bills for the specific purpose to promote public education, government, PEG, promissories. And I think to abandon it, which is what Michael's alluding to, which is what they asked for at town meeting, was wrong. The ability to use that money's always been at hand. They've chosen not to and said that it wasn't possible, but I submit to you the evidence is a stone's throw away. And I think we can still do it. I
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia, did you
So,
want to
yeah,
respond?
let me address that. So Mr. Doyle's question, I think, is where is the actual cable cast server? And that's located at 25 High Road, because that's where town meetings, town government meetings used to take place. When we moved the operation here, you couldn't move that, because that's Comcast. The head end is there, there's all kinds of equipment there. And we attempt to try to bounce programming off of that. That's logistically been proven difficult because of the nature of how the whole equipment works. Yeah,
Okay.
fiber optics work. So that's why it's been proven. And I'll tell you, Mr. Doyle is correct. It's been difficult. Sometimes the meetings don't go off well. But hopefully we'll have a new gentleman here that's going to try and address that somehow. But
Okay.
Mr. Rybicki's assumption that the Byfield Community Arts Center can take a 501c3, and that is not appropriate. That they have a separate mission, a whole separate 501c3 needs to be formed, similar to Salisbury
All right,
TV.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, did you get your question answered? Yes, ma'am.
I have a really hard
Say
question.
your name, ma'am.
My name is Catherine DeLay, and it's for everybody, and it's really hard. So you're going to have to think fast on your feet and speak shortly. I would like to know of a specific example where you were sitting on a committee or a board where you had conflict and disagreement into how you were going to go forward and how you approached that problem and how you solved it, with a specific example.
I appreciate the question. Jack, I just want to ask if you're comfortable with that question since you're not on the select board today.
Oh, but doesn't mean that only the board.
I know, I just wanted to double check.
Any
On any
In any
organization.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, any organization.
Sure, I'll go
Okay.
first if you want to.
Sure.
The lights outside on that field are the result of efforts that myself and 5 other people put forth in 2007. We raised over $35,000 as members of the Triton Youth Baseball program. We scrambled all around town and then hand dug those trenches out there, poured those footings that hold those lights out there to get those lights in here. We had a great challenge. There was people that didn't want it, there was people that wanted it. We didn't have money, we needed to find money. It was a wonderful thing to try and do. But with the help of everybody coming together, we pulled it off, and it's an amazing thing. And to sit here tonight and watch those lights pop off, I gotta tell you, it's a wonderful thing to do, to be able to come together, raise money, community efforts on Saturdays and volunteer efforts, and make something like that happen. And I promise you that I think that on many efforts here, that's a small example of what we can do on a larger scale here in town. And I promise you I would try to do that, Catherine.
Thank you. Catherine, I just want to comment, Jack. I think Catherine's question, which I thought was an excellent question, was to talk about an example where you really had a strong disagreement with someone. And you're going to have that, right, if you're on the select board. I'm sure you have it frequently, you have it with your business, and right? Could you give an example where you really were opposed with someone on a certain issue and how you resolved it? I think that was the intent of your question.
Well,
I'll give you one more minute to
Sure.
respond again.
Mrs. McKay, who sold us the land at the Riverview Farm here, she was against it. In fact, the lights weren't on for 20 years because we had the select board, when we purchased it, gave her the right to put those lights on to this minute, to this day, because the select board decision, when we bought that deed, Riverview Farm has the authority to turn those lights on and off every year, not anybody here. That rests with a private resident right over there. We fought tooth and nail for a long time. They sat there not used, very frustrating, going back to the left. It was very frustrating to not have that happen. We knocked on Riverview's doors multiple times, begging people, the subsequent owners, to do it. Only now recently did the latest owner, once they found out they were the ones that had the authority, they were horrified to find out that they could turn on the lights, or had the authority to turn the lights on, and the first thing they did is ceded to please put them on. So we're all sitting here now. I say that consternation of facing off against a neighbor for the benefit of everybody was very challenging.
Thank
And I
you,
say
Jack.
to you today, it was here and we did. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Jeff, would you like to respond to that question, please?
I think being 77 has made that question a heck of a lot easier. My dad was a great arbitrator. And I've tried to pride myself always with being able to go back to basics and formulate a strategy that if there's dissonance, it disarms it. I smile. I think the board we have now, I think works well together. Maybe Mike and I have argued. I think my biggest arguments have been probably way back with Dave Mountain and David Powell on the planning board, but we went back to basics. And what was best for the community was always the things that mattered most, which we always did. So it's a lot easier now, trust me.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Alicia?
Well, I haven't been on a board as long as Jeff has, but I think the moving out of 25 High Road, I can tell you right now, Mr. Walker was opposed to that. He was very concerned about never getting back to Town Hall. And big eyes, oh no, we'll be able to get back. Don't worry about that. Well, we're not. And now, 15 years later, perhaps I should have listened to Mr. Walker. But, we deliberate, we say what we want, respect. As long as you assume the best of intentions, you can disagree, you can agree to disagree. As long as everybody is bringing their best self to the table, and you work not for a personal agenda. It's not what about me, it's what about we. And, what's best for all of us, the collective whole. We're fine. But we don't always agree.
Thank you. Did you want to say something else? No, you're good. Okay.
Those are two good examples.
Yeah, good. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Amy Speak, and I'm going to tweak the question differently for Jack as well as Felicia and Jack, because it's a different situation. So the two of you have been on the board for quite some time, and you've made mistakes, you've learned things along the way. So my question is for you is what will you do differently based on what you've learned over your years? And Jack, my question for you is what will you change based on where you sat and observed the board operating?
Thank you. Alicia, do you want to answer that first?
I don't know if I would really change anything. I think as long as you have open dialogue and you give everyone, we're very particular in how we run our meetings, and it's purposefully done that way, and it's done to be fair to everyone. We have to have a posted agenda. You can't just come into our meetings and we can't say, oh, good, you're here. Pull up a chair, come on up. What do you want to talk about? How do you want us to vote? Let's just, get this over with. You just can't do that. It's fundamentally wrong for democracy. The townspeople need to know what their seat of government is speaking to and when they're going to vote on something. So we have to have a posted agenda. I try as chair to have a motion in a second, and then I get to discussion, and I try to hit everybody on the board to get their feelings on it, and sometimes twice. And then we can keep going back to that. But
I think the question was very good, and I guess maybe think of it as, if you look back on some of your experiences chairing the board or being a member, any parts that you look back and go, oh, I wish I handled that differently. And now I've learned and I do something a little bit differently in order to compromise with colleagues or opposing views or.
well, I think before I was chair, I think I had a different understanding of how the board worked, and I think if I could have gone back, I maybe would have asked a few more questions. That would have been, It's a big learning curve.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff?
Amy, did you mean a incidence or style?
Just what would you do, is there anything you would do differently going forward?
Meaning a certain incidence that we would have or could have done differently, or a change in my style of governance?
The latter. Anything you would do differently going forward based on your experience, how you handle it, or a different, just anything. It can be an issue that you think you want to do different, handle differently, or a way you conduct yourself.
I suppose I would go back to town hall. Once again, I probably would have stood more on heavy ground and not been more idealistic in some of my thinking and gone along with the fact that maybe things would work out. There's been a lot of things that didn't maybe go the way I would have hoped they went. I mean, it's just crazy little things. I think Warren Manta's, legacy was a little tarnished because of certain pavement that was put down. So there's a lot of things I might have done differently, but when you're a selectman and you're collaborative and you work with a group, sometimes those outcomes are never as expected.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Jeff?
Thanks, Amy, for the question. If I'm lucky enough to be elected, I don't intend to reinvent any wheel. I think there's great processes in place. I think we do well. I think we can do better. That's not a personal assault. Some people would think it is, and it's not. I think we all wake up and try to be a little bit better each day. I work hard to do it. I think a new set of eyes from the inside out might be good. They've been here 9 years together and never voted apart. That's not independent view. That's arriving at the same conclusion all the time.
That's
So
not true. I watch every selectman meeting.
I have the floor, excuse me.
Yeah.
So they're running together, and the
We can have
notion that...
rebuttals, but go ahead, Jeff. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, I wasn't silencing you.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What was
She
that,
was
sorry?
saying they'll let Alicia or Jeff respond
Oh,
after you. But
Yeah.
sorry, finish.
Sorry.
I only offer that they're running as one voice with two votes, and I submit to you that I'm one independent voice with an unproven track record and a willingness to learn, a willingness to apologize, and a willingness to dig in. And I think that that's what I'm offering you out there. If there's a learning curve, I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm willing to take that measure, and I'm willing to stand before you each time, and if I make a mistake, I'll say I'm sorry, and we'll learn. But I submit to you that continuing always on the same path when there's a big ocean and multiple courses to chart to every island and every goal we have, I think that I would be more open than the existing majority has necessarily shown. And I think if you give me the opportunity, perhaps we'll visit it that way. That's what I promise you. They promise you what they've done for the last 9 years to continue. I promise that they've done well, and I think we can do a little better. And if you give me a chance, I'll ask you to test me on that each year and to review me. And in 3 years, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, in 3 years you'll vote me off or not for letting you down. But I promise you, I don't think I will. I think that whether you like me or not, you'll come to do business, because whether we see it alike or not, we'll have done it together. And sometimes it'll be yours, and sometimes it'll be mine, but it'll always be ours. That's what I promise you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Before we move to the final question, Alicia or Jeff, did you want to respond to anything Jeff said?
Well, I can. Mr. Rybicki's making the assumption that we collude and we decide that we're going to have a vote and we one voice and we discuss things prior to a meeting, and you can't do that. I mean, I've heard a lot of Jack say me, I. When I'm on the board, I will do this, I will do that. We're a collaborative board. we have to work together. It's not me, it's not a crown on my head. We are independent thinking. We don't get power until we come together as a board. Individually, I'm just me.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to repeat that?
Well, I watched my husband for 15 years be a selectman and was hired to. I watch almost every single selectmen's meeting when it's up and running. And there have been many times I've watched Alicia and Jeff not agree on things. They don't agree on everything. So I took umbrage to that. You said, well, they agree on everything, and that's really not true. So I think they have their own opinions. I also watched my husband run a corporation with 15 men, automotive stores. Never easy to manage that many people from different walks of life.
Yeah.
But he's always been able to be collegial with the group and work together. But I'm a wife, so I defend my husband. And I've watched him not agree because I know his value system. And then I watch them talk about it and come to agreements together as a board.
Okay.
But
Okay,
to say that they always agree.
Okay, thank you. Jack, did you want to say anything in response to that?
No, I think everybody's record speaks for itself. I think the votes that have been displayed through the years are self-explanatory. I don't need to
All right,
comment.
thank you. Jack? We'll keep this quick because we just have one more summation
Okay,
question.
real quickly, a lot of times when we're presented with something at the board level, unless there's just a drastic need to want to vote against it, you would want us to vote for it. You would want concert and not disharmony going towards town meeting. You would want a total understanding. And if there wasn't a good understanding of it, you would want us to thrash it out and make it so we could agree on it.
Like the dog thing. That was a
It's
perfect
just,
example.
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, Alicia and I are certainly different people. We did decide to run together, but we're different.
Thank you. Just real quickly before we ask the final question, because I know the question about the restrained unneutered dogs got removed from the last question.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, could you just comment on why that got removed and just super quickly what your guys' opinions on that is?
Absolutely. So when we set the warrant, we had the police chief came to us. We have recently regionalized our dog officer.
Yeah.
We have a regional dog officer now. And in an effort to get all of the bylaws similar to the same, they rewrote all of it. Our biggest concern was a leash law. And we were ensured that there was no leash law on this. Okay, so we took it on. It was a warrant article. We took it home. Everybody took it home. We did our homework. Selectwoman Matthews, at the discussion, found that there is a spot in that law, because it was redlined and stuff, that they do require dogs to be leashed at under certain circumstances. And that's when she turned the mind of the whole board. We said, you know what, we're not going to recommend this because it violates. How are you going to have a hunter, like Jeff had a good point. A hunter, you're going to tell a hunter he's going to be hunting in the woods, he's going to restrain his dog? It just didn't work for Newbury. So now they're going to be voted not to recommend it. We need no action at town meeting. Then it will come back in some other form. Eventually they'll do something else.
Jack and Jeff, any comments on that issue or should we move to closing?
Real quickly, for years we were used to in-house animal control. It probably became expensive, but I submit that we look how regional works, and if it's not working and doesn't meet all our needs, that we, and you, I hope, bring it up to the board and we might go. I mean, I was always pro Carol LaRock. I think she did a great job. And if we need those type of services again, it's your animals, and I own, first time ever I don't own an animal or a dog, maybe a dog right now, but let us know. So we'll see how regional does.
Thank you, Jeff. So before I make some closing remarks, one more question. A week from today, we're going to the voting booths, and we're going to vote for two of you. Why should we vote for you? What do you want us to think about when we walk into that voting booth? Final remarks.
How long?
2 minutes. Jeff, do you want to start?
No. Should I take it easy on myself and read my closing? Probably not. I think I've displayed the type of demeanor, the type of credibility, lack of agenda, and a lot of years on the board. I think our town with our tax rate and a lot of the things that we've been able to accomplish displays good leadership. So obviously, if you want that to continue to exist, I would ask for your vote. The other more pertinent thing is too, if Jack were to win, there'll be 5 selectmen from Byfield. And that being said, good thing or bad thing, I'm also the person that probably has the deepest contacts and the most understanding on one of our important assets. If you can see the marsh or you live near a river, we're going to have some flooding issues. And to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons I signed up to be running again for selectmen, because the next 2 or 3 years, let alone decades, are going to be going to display a need for good stewardship in those respects.
Thank you, Jeff. Alicia?
Thank you for that question. I think that Selectman Walker and myself both serve the town of Newbury well. Based on our expertise and our experience, we can hit the ground running. I am very concerned about sea level rise. Should Jeff not retain his seat on the board, there's no other board member that has that breadth and depth of knowledge. And we're going to lose all those connections, grant monies and everything else out on Plum Island. I have a deep understanding of this process and this issue, school funding. I'm a big voice. I'm a big supporter of Triton. We need to educate our kids. I just believe that the 2 current incumbent select board members this show around serve the town of Newbury the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I said it before, I think we've done well. I don't dispute that. What I offer you is a fresh set of eyes, a willingness to dig in, a trust but verify attitude, and a willingness to look into those things that maybe need a little bit deeper, a greater understanding. I submit to you that I enjoy looking into things, I enjoy process, I enjoy Robert's Rules of Order, for goodness sake. And I would respect all that's laid before me, and I would work within all of the processes in order to find, if there's something to be found, that we'll find it together. I think that there's still great ways to look at things, and looking at the things the same way all the time is a forest for the trees problem. And I offer you a different point of view with the same goals. And that's fiscal accountability, a willingness to learn, and a willingness to find out, because it's in all our best interests. It's too much on deck to just stay one course. I think we need to be balancing a lot, and I believe I'm the guy that can balance it with forethought, care, and empathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank all of you for coming. I'm so appreciative of the bipartisan nature of tonight, and I appreciate you coming out on a Tuesday night to join us. Anyone who wants to be on our mailing list, please stop by and grab your email. Don't forget to go out and vote next Tuesday. So thank you. And thank you.